local Toyota dealership today. Toyota, let's go places. Golden Flake, the official potato chip of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Yellow Hammer Brewing, Alabama's finest craft brewery. Everwood, the official treated lumber of Alabama athletics. And by Ford. For great offers on F-150, see your local Ford dealer. Proud sponsor of the Crimson Tide.
Throws far side. Intercepted Alabama.
Now, here's Eli Goals.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Hey Coach, presented by Alfa Insurance. You know you can protect your cars, home, life, and business with Alfa. So happy to have you along with us on this Thursday evening, getting set for Alabama and the Kentucky Wildcats on the football gridiron come Saturday. We've got all sorts of stuff to talk about tonight. We'll be talking women's tennis with the coach and one of his standout players. That's coming up here in just a moment or so. Nick Kelly is going to be here from the Tuscaloosa News. And, of course, Coach Nick Saban at the top of the hour. But if you like women's tennis, we've got Petra Sedlikova and the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Jonathan Burhane, and that's going to be coming up here in just a moment or so. If you'd like to be part of the program, you know the phone number. It's 877-202-BAMA. 877-202-BAMA. That's the Yellowhammer Brewing Hotline. And we'd love to hear from you throughout the course of this 90 minutes. You know, you can keep up with everything Alabama with the Alabama Crimson Tide mobile app. It's presented by Cadence Bank, and it's available now at the App Store and Google Play. And you can download the Alabama Crimson Tide mobile app for free, no cost whatsoever. So check it out if you'd like to keep track of all that's going on here at the Capstone. This is Hey Coach. We're live from Baumhauer's Victory Grill. This is the official watch party location of the Crimson Tide, and you're listening to it all right here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. We are back as we welcome you into Baumhauer's Victory Grill here in Tuscaloosa. This segment of Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show also being presented by Royal Furniture, family owned and operated for 75 years. Royal Furniture has locations in Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Memphis, and Jackson, Tennessee for your shopping convenience. And we're joined now by the head coach of the women's tennis team here at Alabama, Jonathan Berhane. Coach, good to see you, sir. How are you?
Thank you. Good to see you, too.
And to my right from the Czech Republic, joining us is Petra Sedzlikova. And Petra, we appreciate your being here today as well.
Thank you for having us.
Let's talk about your job first, Jonathan. You've been head coach here, Western Kentucky. You've been an assistant coaches here and other. How different is the job when you take over the entire program?
Well, I'm used to this position because I was the head coach of Western Kentucky. However, taking the program over after a legendary coach as Jenny Mines,
Sure.
as you know, it comes with challenges, right?
Yeah.
So, but I'm very excited for this opportunity, and I'm for our leader and our great athletic director, Greg Byrne, for giving me this opportunity. So I'm up for the challenge and very excited for it.
And Petra, of course, you've had a wonderful career already, and the win in the Southern Regionals, the singles title, that's something that we hadn't seen here in Alabama in a long, long time. Congratulations to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It was definitely a pretty exciting win for me. I've done a lot of hard work, so I was really happy to see the results of it.
Tell me the progress for a young lady, and I know there was transfers involved and what have you, but coming from the Czech Republic to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, how'd that happen?
It all happened thanks to this guy next to me. He was the main reason. Not really, but he was definitely part of it. It happened mostly because I just wanted to play tennis and I wanted to find different places and kind of expand my skills and knowledge as well. And
I'm sorry. I was going to ask the coach, how difficult to recruit on an international basis? Nick Saban needs to recruit. He goes down Highway 82 to Gordo, Alabama, or wherever it might be. How about for you when you've got international flair in your roster?
I think it's very challenging. I travel about 5 to 7 weeks every year. I'm all over Europe. I'm going to try to expand to go to maybe different places all over the world, like Asia or even in Africa. But majority of my recruiting has been in Europe, and it is challenging because of all the different cultures you get exposed to, and the language barrier as well. But I'm international myself. I'm from Sweden.
Sure.
So I have a lot of network and contacts all over Europe, so which makes it a lot easier for me than a lot of other coaches.
Now, I was going to ask you about that. When you walk into some of these places, do they know Tuscaloosa? Do you have to sell the city? Do you have to sell the school? What do you have to do?
Well, surprisingly, I can tell you this. I've been, like I told you, I was in Finland a couple years ago, and I'm going down the escalator, and there's a Finnish guy that tells me, "Roll Tide." And I was very surprised. I would never have thought that, but that was in a small country that is about 7 million people in Scandinavia knowing University of Alabama. That tells you how big our brand is and how they recognize it all over the world.
I understand, as we're visiting, if you're just joining us, with the head coach of the women's tennis team, Jonathan Berhane, and a standout performer for the Crimson Tide, Petra Sedlachka. And you have, Petra, you've competed against some of the top athletes of your group, of your category in the world, and that included the title in the singles that we mentioned earlier. Now you've got, I understand, a different partner in doubles. Is that accurate?
It is accurate, yes.
How difficult is that?
It's definitely challenging at sometimes, but we've been getting along pretty well so far. We're also roommates, which I'm not sure if it makes it any better, but we'll see. And we still have a lot to learn and a lot to get used to, but it's going the right way, I think.
I have had the pleasure of broadcasting tennis events over the years in the WTA, the on the women's and the men, both the ATP and the WTA. And it seemed as though doubles was kind of dying on the vine. Do you see it coming back now? Is it more of a spectator favorite?
I think it definitely is, and I mean, I can see why maybe sometimes it was kind of seen as something not as important, but I think doubles is just as exciting as singles, and I'm really happy to see that, you know, more people are interested in it, and I think it's pretty exciting, especially when people are going at it.
Coach, when you take a look at this team, where are you right now? Are you satisfied with what you see? Are there, or as Coach Saban will say, Eli, you know better, coaches are never satisfied. What do you see when you look at your tennis squad?
Well, I would agree with Coach Saban. I don't think I'm ever satisfied, but I'm also very happy with how far we have come along this semester in terms of where we started, and watching the girls practice last week and seeing what kind of intensity they have and the focus and their fitness level and you know, just the way they're competing. So absolutely, I'm very encouraged and excited for the spring season, but I would tell you the same thing. I'll never be satisfied. I'm always looking to improvement.
Yeah. Is there an element of the game that you specialize in and an element of the game that an assistant will specialize in when you're talking to a different athlete?
Our team word for this year is maximum effort.
Right.
So that's the kind of, you know, what I speak about all the time is whatever you decide to do, you got to do it at your maximum effort. And I believe if you do that consistently and you do it in all areas, you know, you're setting yourself up for success. So that's something that I talk to the girls about every day.
We're going to come right back. We'll continue our conversation. Again, if you'd like to join us, 877-202-BAMA. Coach Nick Saban joins us here in about 17 minutes or so from right now. Hey, congratulations, by the way, to Baumhauer's Victory Grill. He's recently been ranked #1 for the best wings in Alabama. And, of course, Bob has been serving up the famous wings for over 40 years. So no wonder they're the best in Alabama. So congratulations to Bob, the entire team, his managers, servers, everybody. Baumhauer's legendary fun, legendary food. And we are live here on Hey Coach, presented by Alfa Insurance. Protect your cars, home, life, and business with Alfa. We're back in just a moment on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. on this Thursday evening edition of Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show. A quick reminder, ladies and gentlemen, that this segment of Hey Coach is presented by Roll Tide Jerky, Alabama's newest tailgate tradition. You know, proceeds from Roll Tide Jerky will help fuel Crimson Tide athletes. It's coming to a store near you and at rolltidejerky.com. Roll Tide Jerky, where passion and protein collide. We're visiting here with Petra Sedlachkova. I wish I could say that smoothly, but I have to double clutch each time. But at least we get it right. And Coach Jonathan Perhane, let's discuss what your schedule is like as you get going towards the next season of Alabama women's tennis.
So we just concluded our fall season,
Right.
and the spring season starts January 20th, and
Yeah.
we play Furman and UAB. And we got selected to go to the ITA kickoff, where we play NC State, that finished number 2 in the country last year.
Right.
And
And where will that tournament be?
It will be at NC State.
At NC State?
Yes.
Okay.
And then after that, we have a couple home matches. We play Indiana and Kansas State at home. And then going into March 1st is going to be our first SEC event.
Yeah.
And we play Vanderbilt first match.
Petra, how difficult is the SEC versus international competition? And when you work out, and do you practice to prepare for international play? Are you working out to prepare to meet somebody for Vanderbilt, or is it really all the same?
I would say the level is really high, especially in the SEC. So I always make sure I put my maximum effort into every practice, and I would prepare for this match just as any other.
Right. I would figure as much. But what is your strength? Backhand, overhand? What's the strength of your game?
I would definitely say my forehand.
Okay. And the coaches agree?
I agree. Forehand and serve. Yeah.
Really? And who else on the team are we likely to be hearing about as this upcoming January gets here?
I would say there'll be a few. We have Ludmila Benchk from France, and she's one of our better players, and she's going to play in the top of our lineup. And then I would have to say Anne-Marie Heiser. She's from Georgia,
Right.
from the U.S., and she's also going to be up there. And Margot Maquette, our transfer from Charlotte.
Right, she's your doubles partner.
Correct.
Yes, she is.
But, you know, we have a very even team with a lot of good players, so hopefully you hear about all of the girls.
And for those who don't know, and I'll include myself on this, how do you come up with your rotation of who plays? Is it strictly the best goes on Thursday or Friday, the next best the next day? How do you work out that rotation as a coach?
You know, we look at our opponents, and we look at the kind of lineup they have, and then we're also, each player has a ranking,
Right.
and depending on the ranking, there's so much that you can do with the lineup. There's certain guidelines that you have to follow. So if Petra is higher ranked than someone else on the team, she's going to have to play higher in the lineup as well.
I hear you. Well, listen, guys, I wish you all the best, and we look forward to following you once the season resumes in January. But all the best to you, and Petra, thank you for taking the time out to join us here tonight.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
That's a pleasure to have women's tennis represented as well as it is. That's Jonathan Perhane, the head coach, and Petra Sedlachkova, who is one of the standouts on the roster, joining us here on tonight's show. Hey, folks, let's talk about the Everwood Performer of the Week. And that goes to Jalen Milroe. Big surprise, huh? He was named the co-SEC Player of the Week for his play against LSU. Jalen had 374 yards of total offense, including 219 yards passing, 155 on the ground, 4 touchdowns to set the Crimson Tide single-game touchdown record by a quarterback. So congratulations to Jalen Milroe. That is the Everwood Performance of the Week. Everwood, wood treated right. And we're back in a moment on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. can stay cool this season at Bryant-Denny with a free non-alcoholic drink of your choice when you purchase a limited edition Bama Yeti. These vintage Yeti cups are only available at Bryant-Denny Stadium, so elevate your game day with Yeti. And also a quick reminder, with the holiday season just around the corner, the ultimate Crimson Tide shopping experience is at Alumni Hall. Get all your officially licensed Bama gear and apparel for the entire family. That includes all the top brands like Nike, Peter Millar, Southern Tide, and Johnny O. It's at Alumni Hall. Shop at Alumni Hall in Tuscaloosa, Huntsville, or online at alumnihall.com. Alumni Hall, where Bama fans shop. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. Identification. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Welcome back, everybody. Glad you're with us. And now, our media guest for the evening, who's presented by CB&S Bank. You can bank anywhere at any time with CB&S Bank's digital solutions. Managing your finances has never been so easy. And Nick Kelly is with us from the Tuscaloosa News. Good to see you, sir. How are you?
Good to see you, Eli. I'm doing well. Yourself?
I am well, just fighting off the remnants of a cold, but otherwise I'm doing okay. Was that your fiance I saw here before?
That was the lovely Elizabeth. She's here with me tonight. So.
When are you guys getting married?
Next April. So.
Good.
After football, after basketball. So.
I hear you. Well, isn't it amazing, those of us in the business, you have to look at schedules to try and figure out what you're going to do.
Yeah, and I remember you told me way back when you got to have a great lady with you to understand that, and I do, and I know you do as well.
Yeah, Claudette and I have been married 46 years now. It's remarkable. Yeah, it really is. How she's put up with me for all those years, I'll never know. When we come back, Coach Nick Saban is going to join us here. We've got lots to discuss with the coach. We'll, of course, take your questions for both he and Nick Kelly from the Tuscaloosa News. So feel free to give us a yell. 877-202-BAMA. 877-202-BAMA. Hey, Coach, and the Nick Saban Show, live from Baumhauer's Victory Grill here in Tuscaloosa. And we're coming right back with more here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Alabama Crimson Tide is one. One more Bama SEC win, and they're off to the SEC Championship game as the Western Division representative. This Saturday, the Tide makes one of its infrequent visits to Lexington, Kentucky to meet the Wildcats. At 6-3, 3-3 in the conference, the Cats are having one of their better seasons and could act as Bama's spoiler this weekend. Alabama and Kentucky take center stage on tonight's November 9th edition of the Nick Saban Show. Here we go!
Hey everybody, Alabama coach Nick Saban here.
This is the Nick Saban Show.
Roll Tide.
Live from Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa.
All right, blow the horn, let's go.
Presented by Alfa Insurance. For auto, home, and life insurance, call Alfa.
Welcome back, everybody. Glad you're with us here at Baumhauer's in Tuscaloosa. I'm Eli Gold. To my right is Nick Kelly from the Tuscaloosa News. To my left is Tom Stipe, who we are celebrating a belated birthday here today. So happy birthday, young man, wherever you, whatever the numbers are. We wish you a belated birthday. And, of course, the arrival of Coach Nick Saban brings the reaction from the crowd. Nick Kelly, good to see you, sir. How are you?
Good to see you. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Can't complain. I'm here doing fine and getting set to talk football for an hour with Coach Nick Saban. Again, if you'd like to join us in conversation, 877-202-BAMA. That's 877-202-BAMA. The Nick Saban Show being brought to you by Alfa Insurance. Protect your cars, home, life, and business with Alfa. Coach, good to see you, sir. How are you?
Great, how are you?
Good
to be here.
Yeah, it's nice. Always good to be here. And how's your week of practice been?
Well, you know, it's challenging in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, when you have two emotional games back to back, that, you know, kind of sets up a little mental trap for you where it's pretty much human nature and it's pretty pervasive that, you know, when you have things like that happen that, you know, people have a little like psychological letdown. It's almost like watching a scary movie and you're all excited and then in the end the bad guy gets killed and everybody's kind of relieved, you know?
Yep.
So, but you have big games and you feel kind of the same way. It's kind of psychological in nature, but everybody's got to ask themselves, you know, how important is the season? How important is this game? How important is the opportunity that you've created for yourself? Are you willing to choose to do the things you need to do to take advantage of that? And you should have great gratitude for that. I mean, this team has worked really, really hard. They made a tremendous amount of improvement, and it would be, you know, a real shame for them if they don't finish the way they're capable of finishing. So that's what we're trying to get everybody to, you know, sort of buy into. And
Sure.
it started a little slow in the beginning of the week, but they picked it up as the weeks you know, moved on.
Gone on. Good. You know Nick Kelly, of course, from the Tuscaloosa News. It's all yours, Nick. Help yourself with a question.
Yeah, you talked about complacency on Monday, and in your life, when was the time that you learned best how to combat complacency?
Whenever the next game came up and you got beat. I mean, it was pretty simple.
It's a good question.
You know, complacency is just not something that bodes very well in competitive sports. I mean, it just doesn't. All right, because it doesn't matter if you're a more physical team, you're a more disciplined team, or even if you're a better team than the team you're playing. What matters is are you that when you play the game? So you got to be better when you play the game, and that takes a certain sort of psychological disposition in terms of your preparation, your attention to detail, the discipline, and all the things that you do to put yourself in a position to be able to play that way. So it doesn't work very well in competitive sports, and I think that, you know, there's a difference between having passion for something and being obsessed with it. So if you just have passion and you enjoy playing, you know, maybe when hard comes, it's not worth it. But when you're obsessed with something and you want to be the best you can be, and you're obsessed with having an opportunity to win the championship or win the West or, you know, whatever, then you know your feelings kind of don't go up and down because you're obsessed with it, and it means everything to you to be the best that you can be at what you try to do. And I guess I've kind of been that way, through the years. So, and it might probably not be the best thing for my health sometimes, but I still enjoy it.
There you go. Coach, our first question of the night, of course, comes from the phone of one Pee Wee in Grand Bay, Alabama. And he's brought to us by Alabama 811. Remember, to help prevent injuries, outages, and loss of life, call 811 or visit al811.com before you dig. It's free, it's simple, and it is the law. Pee Wee, good to have you with us. It was great to see you here on the last show.
Yes, sir. It was great to see you too, Eli.
Yeah,
Coach, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I got a question for you. Since you were here at the last game and you have a lot to do with the offensive line and they played their best game, I'd just like to know, what you said to them to get you to, kind of get them to play that way. Any comments on that?
It's the same message that you preach, Coach. How bad do you want it? How bad are you willing to work for it?
That's a good answer.
Yeah. He's sharp. He's pretty sharp, Pee Wee is.
Yeah, now you get to ask me a question, Pee Wee. I shouldn't interrupt you like that. I'm sorry.
No, that's perfectly fine, Coach. I actually want to brag on the offense a little bit if I could. By far, like you said, this was our best offensive output of the year, 507 total yards, 288 on the ground, 219 through the air, 4 for 4 in the red zone, an amazing 11 of 14 on third down, 78%, and we had 28 first downs through the game. We had 11 total possessions, and out of those 11 total possessions, we had 6 touchdowns, including 3 to start the second half with, which is what sealed the game for us. So I just want to brag on the entire offense. They did a fantastic job. Jalen ran like a man possessed. But, I just wanted to brag on them, if that's all right.
Well, that's all right. You did a great job of doing that. And I was very proud of them. And I'm really excited about the way our offensive team has kind of developed and grown and improved throughout the course of the year. I think they're developing a lot of confidence. Some of the younger, more inexperienced guys are developing more and more confidence, which I think contributes to the consistency that we're able to play with. But there were 2 other out of 11 possessions, 2 other scoring opportunities where very uncharacteristically we didn't make field goals. And so that means we'd have scored on 8 out of 11 possessions. So that's even more compelling. But I think probably the most important thing of all the statistics that you laid out there was being 11 for 14 on third down. Because that is one of the goals you have in a game when you're playing against a really good offensive team and a great player at quarterback like Jaden Daniels is, to keep the ball away from them. I mean, to convert on all those third downs to keep the ball is really a significant, important factor in being able to win games like that, because you don't want to give them the ball, too many times. And we took like 7 minutes off the clock when there was 11 minutes to go in the game, all the way down to 4, with 4-minute offense. We missed a field goal, but that is really huge when you're playing against really good offensive teams.
Yeah. Hey, Coach, when you look at that, and Will Reichert doesn't miss many field goals at all, obviously. When he does miss a couple, does he come to you and say, did you notice anything? Do you try to correct the guy who's on the finalist for the Groza Award? How do you handle that?
Well, I think that what I've learned through the years is, most of these guys, they really don't look to a coach. They kind of know. I mean, Will Reichert really knows when he hits it well. He missed them both just right to the right. And, his ball usually just hooks a little bit. And neither one of them did. And he just missed both of them by probably that much. But the first one he hit really good. The second one not so good. And he just tells you how it went. And I just pat him on the butt and say, just don't worry about it. Make the next one.
Yeah.
Because they technically know exactly. I mean, it's almost like a golfer. You kind of technically know when you're hitting it right, or when you're taking it too far inside, or not turning enough, or whatever it is. and you can fix yourself. And I think when we start telling guys like Will Reichert how to do what he does, it probably can mess them up more than it can help them.
I got you. Makes sense.
Pee Wee brought up Jalen running, and something I love to see is how he's willing to just run through a guy if he's in his way. As his coach, do you like that? I mean, what's it like when your quarterback wants to run through guys as a runner?
Well, I think it's great that he has that kind of competitive spirit. I think you got to be smart about taking care of yourself, though, and not taking unnecessary hits because, we want the guy to stay healthy, too.
No doubt.
No doubt about it. We're live tonight at Baumhauer's Victory Grill. Coach Nick Saban is here, and Harrison is on the phone in Florence, Alabama. Hello, Harrison.
Hey, Eli. How you doing tonight, Coach?
Good, Harrison. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hope everything's been going good this week, getting ready for Kentucky. I just had a question about our coordinators. I've noticed over the last several years, our offensive and defensive coordinators, Lane and Kirby and Pete, and some of those have been on the sidelines, and our coordinators this year, Tommy Reese and Kevin Steele, are up in the press box. I just wanted to get your opinion on maybe the pros and cons of each, and maybe why it's best for our coordinators to be in the press box this year as opposed to being on the sideline.
Yeah, well, I think that I let every one of our coordinators decide where they want to be. I've talked about this before, so I won't bore everybody with the point, but if a guy feels more comfortable calling a game in the press box, then I allow him to be in the press box. When I was a coordinator, I always felt more comfortable being in the press box because you can lay out all your stuff. All right, here's what I'm going to call on third down. Here's what I'm going to call in the red zone. I mean, you can kind of check your notes, and that helps you call, and you can study in between series and make corrections in things and all that. So, but when I was the defense coordinator for Belichick, he said, you can't be in the press box. You have to be on the sidelines. You're the guy that installs everything. You have the best relationship with the players. You can make adjustments with them better. You're teaching them and going over everything with them. So I had to be on the sidelines, and I was really, really nervous about that because not only was I on the sidelines, I'm signaling too. So I'm deciding what we're going to play, what personnel has to go in the game, and I'm signaling too. So that's a lot tougher than calling the game in the press box. But I do agree with Bill Belichick. Your coordinators probably are the guys that have the greatest impact on the players on the sidelines because they are the guys that are presenting all the time to them and sort of, talking to them, motivating them and all that kind of stuff as a group. So there's good and bad in both. But so therefore, I allow a guy to do it where he feels most comfortable. And I don't want to make a guy like Bill O'Brien was, in the press box. We've had other coordinators in the press box, in the past. But if a guy feels comfortable with it, I love it for him to be on the sidelines because, they can have an impact. But if they can't call the game and they can't make the decisions they have to make on the sidelines, because it's like you got to do it without paper and pencil. If you ever think about it, just think about doing something without paper and pencil. You got to have everything in your head. You don't have time to look at a call sheet and say, okay, it's third down, they're coming out of the huddle, what are we going to play on defense? You got to know what you're going to play in that situation, and you got to go. And so you're in the press box, you can look at the sheet and figure it out. Well, it's a different, and it takes a different kind of guy and different kind of personality to be able to do that. So it's kind of to each its own. And the guy that has a great impact with the players and is with the players a lot and goes through all the coverage stuff is T-Rob. So he's on the sidelines with them. He makes all the adjustments a lot with the linebackers in the secondary. Freddie does it with the defensive line, so we're good. Same thing on offense. We have coaches that have been here longer than the coordinators that have relationships with the players. So it's been a good thing for us. It's worked well for us this year.
We're coming right back. Don't go away. We're visiting with, of course, Coach Nick Saban. We're also from the Tuscaloosa News by Nick Kelly. We are back in a moment after this message. Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show are presented by Alfa Insurance. Protect your car's home, life, and business with Alfa. rushing touchdowns this year. Jalen does 97 carries, 297 yards. It's been neat watching him develop, Nick Kelly, as the season has gone along.
No doubt. It's really the development of the whole offense has just been, I think, fun to see, and just seeing patience pay off as time has gone on.
Exactly right. Jalen Milroe, redshirt sophomore from Katy, Texas, and he did an outstanding job as Alabama got the win over the LSU Tigers. Welcome back, everybody. Glad you're with us on this Thursday evening's edition of the Nick Saban Show. This segment of the Nick Saban Show is brought to you by Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. With zero sugar and refreshingly delicious, is Coca-Cola Zero Sugar the best Coke ever? Well, find out for yourself. Nick Kelly, another question for Nick Saban, sir.
Yeah, Coach, you've been married more than 50 years. I'm going to be getting married in April to Elizabeth, who's sitting right here at the front table. And I just wanted to know what advice you might have for me for the wedding or marriage.
Elizabeth, I'd say you're a pretty lucky guy, so let's start with that.
You outkicked your coverage, man.
Don't I know it? Don't I know it?
I've answered this question before, but I think that, we all kind of have a tendency to be a little self-absorbed in how we think of things. And I think if you want to have a good relationship with your spouse, you've got to sort of think about how they think about things and be respectful of, their feelings. And I think, you can make each other better. I mean, Terry has always made me better in terms of correcting me when I do things that I shouldn't do and don't speak properly when I'm talking on TV or whatever it is. But all those things you hate to hear sometimes, but it all makes you better. And I think you can make each other better, but it takes a certain amount of respect, and you got to trust that the other person's always trying to help you. And I think you got to invest time in relationships, man, and you always got to think of the other person. Exactly. So that's my advice to you.
I appreciate it.
Good luck.
Thank you.
That's the kicker right there. We have a visitor right here, Coach, in front of us with a question. Good evening, sir.
Hey, Coach Saban. Appreciate the opportunity to get to come and be with you tonight. And I had a question just wanted to ask. As the season goes on and it's full of plays and players, is there a moment this year that sticks out to you as the season's winding down that really, as the team's kind of coming together, sticks out in your mind?
No, I mean, the atmosphere and environment in the last two games in Bryant-Denny Stadium for the Tennessee game and the LSU game was phenomenal. And I just want to thank the fans. But that energy, that enthusiasm, that passion that everybody has, it makes you happy that you make so many people happy. And but I said this before, what happened last Saturday has no effect on what's going to happen this Saturday. And everybody has got to stay focused on, what do you want to accomplish and what you want to do. I mean, like I asked the players tonight after practice, I said, how do you feel about this season? How do you feel about the opportunity that you created for yourself? And how do you feel about winning out and trying to put all these people who want to speculate on who's going to get in the playoffs, put them on the hot seat in terms of making a determination about, do we belong or don't we belong? But we have to take care of our business first. So you just keep, every game is more important, especially when you're having success and you have an opportunity to accomplish something of significance in the end. So you got to embrace the opportunity. You got to have gratitude that you have the opportunity and you've created it for yourself, but you also have to respect the fact that a lot of people and our players have really, really worked hard to get to this point, and they made a tremendous amount of progress. I'm really proud of them, but you want to be proud of the way they finished too, so we got to build on that.
Right. Coach, we got a question here from the Nick Saban Show readers at AL.com. Angela in Charlotte has a logistical question. Hey, Coach, I was curious this weekend how early the players wake up and start preparation for a game that has an 11 a.m. kickoff. Thank you, and roll Tide.
Yeah, well, it's going to be 12 o'clock there.
Yeah, right. We'll take it.
So we're on Eastern time. So actually, on Eastern time, which would be 7:15, we have player wake up. And then at 8 o'clock, we have pregame meal. Then actually at 9:25, we do our 20-minute walkthrough in the hotel. It's not really a walkthrough, it's kind of a chair drill, depending on how much room you have. On offense and defense, we get on the bus, we go to the game. We try to always get to the game about 2 hours before kickoff. And you got to be ready to go. I mean, we usually have church service 30 minutes before pregame meal, but we'll have church service on Friday night instead of that early in the morning. So that's kind of how it goes with the players when we have an early game. But when we play a night game, then, we have breakfast, we take a walk together as a team, then we have meetings, then they have another couple hours before church, and then it's kind of the same process leading up to the game and from pregame meal on. So these early games are something that players got to have the right mindset for. It's kind of like you gotta tell them, look, man, when your feet hit the ground, you got to get ready to go. You got to be ready to go. That's just the way it is. And if it's important to you, it's not hard to do.
Exactly. Chris is on the phone in Loxley, Alabama. How are things down south, Chris?
Roll Tide, Coach. Looking good, Eli.
Good.
Coach, before I make this statement, I'd like to ask you a question. How are, I believe it's Jalen Key and Deontay Lawson, did they get to practice today?
Well, they haven't been able to practice much this week, so very questionable for this game. Hopefully we can get them back in the near future, so it's going to be an opportunity for some other guys to step up on our team in this particular game, and it'll be really important because Kentucky is sort of a pro-style offense, lots of motions, lots of formations, lots of condensed formations that change things a little bit for players. So we really try to work hard to make all these looks available to these guys, but we have to make sure we can execute, and we got to communicate well, and that's the thing that young players don't understand the importance of, is how important it is to communicate so you can play together on defense, and nobody's really out of sync with how they got to fit. When we grade a film, we just look at, I always say we either got a plus on the play and this is why, or we got a minus on the play because they gained 5 yards or more, and why. 58 got hooked, 32 wasn't in the right gap, whatever it is. All right, so the players can look at it and see that, well, if I just did what I was supposed to do, we'd have a successful play on that. So, and then if we're playing defenses where we don't have any answers, then we should throw them out, because you're never going to have the confidence of your players if you can't tell them if they did it right, they wouldn't have success on the play.
You mentioned watching film. As for someone like myself or the average person, there's so much going on when you're trying to figure out what to look for. Well, what are you looking for when you flip on film and you're not watching one player necessarily? Where does your eye go? What do you suggest looking at?
I look at the game. I think everyone sort of kind of looks at the game as a coach based on what was your background. All right, so starting out being a quarterback, I always looked at what is the defense playing? What's the coverage? What's the front? Is it a 4-2 front? Is it a 4-3 front? Is it 3 down? Whatever they're playing, what are they playing around it based on the formations? So then being a secondary coach for all these years, kind of look at it the same way. I'm always looking from the back end forward. So I'm looking at the formation that they're in, and when I look at film, I have a book, and sometimes it has 168 pages in it. But it's all done by formation, and the film is done by formation. So I see what they're doing in every formation. It might be 168 different formations, but I see what they're doing in every formation. And then you try to categorize how are you going to play. You can't play 168 different adjustments on every, play. Sure. So how are you going to categorize these things where the players have a chance to be able to technically implement what you want to do on each one of those, and how you're going to adjust to the formations and the motions and the plays that they run, and then teach the players how they fit on every play. So that's kind of how I go about it. And then the next thing is watch everything situationally. So whether it's red area, third down, short yardage, goal line. So here's everything that they do in every one of these situations. 2-minute, 2-point plays. Try to put the best thing together for each one of those and get the players to understand what they might see. So First of all, it starts with the big picture, then you meld it down to what do they do on 1st and 10, what do they do on 1st and 10, and they pass, do they usually run on 2nd down? I mean, you got all these things you're looking for, and to try to create an advantage in how you call the game, too.
Coach, who does a lot of, obviously you do the work, the analysis and what have you. Somebody's got to cut up the films, get all this stuff to you and to the assistant coaches, and the fans don't really know much about that element of the behind the scenes. Who does all that stuff?
Well, let me give you the history, Eli. There's no more film.
Well, that's a generic term.
Now, when I was a GA, I had to cut the film up. You had this little viewer, and you chopped it.
Yeah, and you had
to put it together. Offense, defense, special teams, all the 3rd down plays. And the way I used to do it is I'd take a piece of film, I'd put a piece of tape on it, like this, and I had a garbage can. And I would put it on the edge of the garbage can, and the film would go down in the garbage can. But I would have all these different things taped around the garbage can, 3rd down, short yardage, goal line, and all that. Then once you get them all, you put them all together. All right, so now you got a short yardage reel, you got a 3rd down reel. Now all you have to do is push a button.
Technology, man.
All right, so basically we probably have 50, 60, 70 different categories of things that come out of the computer, and it's all about how you break down the film to start with. So what our guys have to do, and we have some really good, analysts that break down the film, and then the computer sorts it, because all they have to do is get the right information, yard line, down and distance, all those different circumstances that you're going to categorize, and then they come out and you punch a button and you got it.
And there it is.
There it is.
It's amazing how things change. Let's go to Bobby in Mobile with a question. Hello, Bobby.
Hey, how y'all doing? Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, Bobby. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Coach. How are you?
Good, thanks for asking.
Good. I tried to call in a couple of weeks ago, but I just didn't execute. I had some static and we got disconnected. So I swear this isn't like a symptom of relief syndrome, but I was going to ask you a non-football question, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. I know you said when you're up at Lake Burton, one time you said you like to bathe in the lake and take your bar of soap out there and swim and bathe in the lake.
Yeah, I usually soap up on the dock and jump in and rinse off. Yeah, I do that about every day. Everybody thinks I'm crazy.
My wife and I were up there over the summer, and we hiked up to Hemlock Falls. It's like basically down the road from the lake. I didn't know if you'd ever heard of it.
We've done that. Yes, sir.
Oh, you hiked up and swam in the pool?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
You ever been to Buster Butt?
We walked up there and swam. The first thing I thought was, man, I bet Nick Saban would love this ice-cold pool.
You ever been to Buster Butt Falls? You were close.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, you need to experience that, man.
The
name is very fitting for the ride down the falls.
Really?
You will bust your butt, I guarantee it.
There you go. Well, Bobby, thank you for calling in.
Thank you very much, Coach. Yeah,
all right,
thank
buddy.
y'all. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. We're coming right back. More with Nick Saban, Nick Kelly from the Tuscaloosa News, and more of your questions at 877-202-BAMA. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. job by Terrion Arnold, who was the tip went to Dallas Turner, I believe, and then Terrion Arnold came through and pulled it down. So the Crimson Tide defense doing the job along with the offense. It's a team game, and that's how Alabama pulled down the W over the LSU Tigers, 42-28. Welcome back, everybody. We're live at Baumhauer's Victory Grill here in Tuscaloosa. We're joined by Coach Nick Saban, and from the Tuscaloosa News, Nick Kelly. Nick Kelly, how have you taken to this assignment? You've been here a while now. Has it been everything you'd expected?
Everything and more. I mean, I've loved being here. I love football, and there's no better place to be covering football and writing about football than a place like Tuscaloosa. So it's been a fantastic time being here.
Yeah. Coach, we have a young lady down here with a question right in front of the stage.
All right.
Coach, with any injuries we may have, how do you feel about the depth of the team? And number two, since everybody else is having their picture made with you, I want mine made with Miss Terry.
Okay, that sounds good. You made a good choice, actually. So, you know, I think, and I think I've spoke about this before, but I think the depth of our team is younger than it's been in the past, and I think the reason for that is, you know, one of the ways that the portal has affected our team is we don't lose our best players. We lose the next best player. All right, the guy that's been in the program for 2 or 3 years, he's really a good player, he's a good special teams guy, he's a backup, but he goes someplace else and starts for somebody else. Like I've watched a few games on TV, and I see 4 or 5 of our guys that are starting for other teams. Well, those guys would be either starting for us or they would be our backups. So we had 10 guys leave our team last year. We brought 5 guys in, but it's harder for us to get guys to come because they only want to come if they're going to start. So we have our best players. We lose our next best guys. So now how do you fill that gap? That gap gets filled with younger players, and a lot of times freshmen, who it takes a while for them to develop. So we've had a lot of guys on our team now that have had the opportunity to develop through the season. So I would say our depth is better than it has been, but at some positions we don't have a lot of depth, and you know, so it's going to be a challenging opportunity for some of the young players to be able to get an opportunity to play in this game. They're well prepared and we practice well, but how they adapt in the game is, you know, you don't know until they get some experience. So if the healthier that we can stay down this stretch, the better we will be. And some positions are more important than others, just like, you know, D. Lawson is the signal caller on defense. So he makes all the front adjustments, makes all the calls in the front. Well, his experience and his knowledge is missed a lot. The 2 safeties make all the calls in the secondary. So when you lose a starting safety who's played, you know, however many games we played so far this year, that experience gets replaced by someone who maybe doesn't have quite the same experience. So I guess what I'm trying to say is sometimes when you lose certain players at certain positions, it hurts more than other players. So, but we've been pretty fortunate this year. This is probably the game where we'll have be a little more banged up than we've been in most.
Thank you, man.
One of my favorite players to talk to on the team is Terrion Arnold when he comes and talks with reporters. What's one of your favorite things about coaching Terrion in the secondary?
You know, Terrion has a great personality. He's really well liked by the players. He enjoys playing the game. He has a lot of fun playing. He's a fun-loving guy, and he's enjoyable to be around. But, you know, sometimes those guys are the kind of guys that you really got to stay on them a little bit to stay focused. You know, and that's the one thing that, you know, we've really tried to work with him, you know, for the last couple of years to really be able to stay focused and focus on what he's got to do and apply the techniques that he uses and all those kind of things. And when he does that, man, he's a really good player.
He is that. Let's go to Cumming, Georgia, and Ann joining us on the phone. Hello, Ann. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm glad to talk to you. And I just want to say, first and foremost, how much we appreciate Coach Saban and Miss Terry for all their dedication to the university and to football. But I've been a Bama fan all my life. I was born in Birmingham. But I do have a question for Coach Saban. The hit that Dallas Turner on Daniels, it appeared to be a clean hit. I know Brian Kelly has filed with the NCAA about having it reviewed, but I also, the hit on Milroe, a couple plays later, he took a shot to the head and it wasn't called. What's Coach Saban's opinion on that?
Yeah, well, Miss Ann, first of all, we're going to do everything we can, and I think it's good for college football. I think it's good for professional football as well to, protect the quarterbacks. And I think anytime you hit a quarterback in the head area, they're going to call a foul. I mean, even if you just put your hands up to block a pass and come down and hit him in the head. So, Dallas Turner hit the guy right under the chin, all right, and not really a defenseless player. He was throwing the ball. He did hit him in the head, and he should have been penalized for it, which he was. But it wasn't targeting. So that doesn't qualify for what targeting really is. Now, I hate it that I think Jaden Daniels is a great player. A lot of people love to see the guy play. He's exciting to watch and fantastic, and nobody wants to see anybody get hurt. All right, so we're not happy that the guy got hurt on the play by any stretch of the imagination. But Dallas Turner just competing and playing hard, and if he hits the guy 3 inches lower, it's a clean hit. He didn't hit him late. It was the fact that he hit him in the head. So, and it wasn't a direct blow. It was kind of under the chin.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult, too, if you're going full bore and then just to put the brakes on like that. It's got to be just another part of being a very great athlete. But
Right.
that can't be easy to do. We're going to come back. We've got more with the coach, more with Nick Kelly. So don't you leave us. Our phone lines are open at 877-202-BAMA here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. So Alabama now, first and goal from the 10. Handoff, big hole up the middle. McClellan breaks a tackle. He's in for the touchdown. Robbie Oots threw a wonderful block to open things up. And Jace McClellan picked picks up the touchdown, giving Alabama a 2-touchdown lead. He has 5 rushing touchdowns already this season, of course, including that one that we just heard last weekend against the LSU Tigers. Back to the phones. No, we'll keep it right here, and we'll let Nick Kelly throw a question at Coach Nick Saban. Hello again, Nick.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about Kentucky's run defense. I think they're number 21 in the country at defending the run. What's going to be the key against that group and making sure you guys continue the momentum you have from the LSU game?
Well, I think that, first of all, they got 3 really big guys that are physical up front. Most of the time, they play a 3-4 front. They play big people most of the time in a day and age where most people play nickel. They play big people, so they got 2 big outside backers on the edges, 3 big down guys, pretty athletic backers, and they play zone most of the time. And they not have a lot of complicated pressures on regular downs, good third down package, but because they play 2 4 eyes and a 0 nose and they got these big guys in there, they force you it's hard to run the ball inside. But because they got these big guys standing on the edges, it's also a little harder to get the ball in the perimeter sometimes. So that's why they're very good against the run. The reason that they play zone, they keep people in front, they don't give up a lot of big plays. I think their big play ratio is like one of the tops in the country, how many big plays they make versus how many they give up. So you got to be patient against teams like this and take what they give you. And we got to do a great job of finishing up front. You got to get movement on these big guys. And that's going to be a real challenge for our offensive line.
You talk about big plays, explosive plays. There are just so many numbers and stats involved with sports, football. If we're trying to figure out if a defense is good or just what they're like, what stat are you looking at, or what couple stats do you think are most telling of a defense?
Well, I think one of the most important things on defense is you got to be able to stop the run. I mean, people who struggle to stop the run, you're always in negative down and distance situations on defense, so it's harder to play situational defense and take advantage of the down and distance. So when you can't stop the run, you really got problems. Now, statistics in college football are not indicative of whether you're good stopping the run or not. All right, because we don't put quarterback scrambles and quarterback sacks are included in the run total.
Yeah,
sure.
All right, so you could have 5 sacks in the game for 35 yards and give up 120 yards rushing, which maybe you didn't do very well, but it comes out that you only gave up 95 yards rushing, or whatever. So we don't do those statistics like that. Running plays are running plays. So we can get a true evaluation of, are we stopping the run at a 3.3 or less rate? That's kind of how I look at it. And then we put the pass plays and the pass breakdowns, just like when, quarterback scrambles for 160 yards last week. That's a pass. We didn't defend the pass, whether it was pass rush lanes or whether it was zone guys breaking on the ball to tackle the guy, missed tackles or whatever it was. Those were pass plays, and those are passing breakdowns. So to get the true stats on passing, you got to put that into passing. Just like when you sack the guy, that's had good coverage, sack the guy, that should come off the passing. So the stats in the NFL are done more like that. In college football, we don't do it that way. So sometimes when you look at stats, they can be a little misleading, I guess is what I'm trying to say. How did you really stop the run on the running plays? And that's how we try to evaluate it. And we were doing a little better job early in the year, against the run. I think it's going to be real critical that we do a really good job in this game because this team can run the ball, and they're a really good formationally, use a lot of big people type of formations that, create some issues for you that we're going to really have to play well in the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, this isn't your father's Kentucky Wildcats.
No. This is a good team. I mean, I know the pervasive attitude around here is just show up and win the game. They don't happen that way, especially against these guys. They pride themselves on being physical. They play hard. They play tough. That's how their coach coaches them. That's the personality of their coach. And that's how they play. And they don't beat themselves. You got to go beat them. And you got to out-execute them, and you got to beat them. So this is going to be a tough game. And they're 6-3. I mean, Tennessee barely beat them, and they had a chance to win the game in the end and didn't score in 2 minutes. So it's going to be a tough game.
It is that. Coach, it's time for your final word of the week, presented each week by Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz, the vehicles are all electric. The feeling is all Mercedes.
Well, I want to say a couple things before I do that. First of all, I'm not going to get an opportunity publicly to really say how much Veterans Day is coming up tomorrow, the next day, or whenever it is. But, the appreciation that we all should have, that I certainly have, that our family has, for all the people who have made sacrifices to enhance the quality of our life. And, just lately, I watched one show a night of Pacific and one show a night of Band of Brothers. And, we went to a movie last week that was called, I can't remember the name of it, The Covenant, which was, about Afghanistan. What people went through, what these people have sacrificed, what they went through to, have us to have the quality of life that we take for granted so much. I mean, I just want to say to all those veterans out there how much we appreciate what you did and how you've done and how you represented our country and how important it is to all of us that we have tremendous respect for all that you do. So that's number one. Number two is the Stoops family. Uncle Bob Stoops was a high school coach in Youngstown,
Ohio,
at Cardinal Mooney High School. He was defensive coordinator and a dear friend of mine. And he's Mark and all the Stoops brothers that coach, Mike, who coached here, their dad was a defensive coordinator and actually had a heart attack and passed on the sidelines during a game years ago, but was a dear friend. And each one of these Stoops guys I've recruited when they were in high school. So have a special relationship with the family, Uncle Bob, and tremendous amount of respect for all they've done for college football and what a great job they've done coaching, wherever they've been. So those two things I just wanted to mention before we got to the final word. But the final word to me is the same thing I said earlier, here is, this is an important game. How important is it to you? How important is it to all the things that you've done to create this opportunity for yourself? And do you have gratitude for the opportunity? And you look at it like an opportunity to go, not something you got to do. It's something you should be excited about doing and happy about doing. But it's not something that you should take for granted. And you got to have the proper respect for the other team, and you really got to know what it's going to take to go have success. And tough to have success in the SEC on the road, especially when you're playing against good teams, especially when you're playing against tough teams. And that's what we're up against, and we got to have the right mindset. And everybody in the organization and all the fans, we should not have a pervasive attitude that this is just going to be show up. It's going to be you got to play better than the other team when you play them. And that's got to be the challenge for all of us.
Indeed. So, Coach, as always, thank you for your time. It's great to see you here. Nick Kelly from the Tuscaloosa News, thank you for your time, and all the best when you get married to the lovely Elizabeth.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.
Take care.
We're
coming right back. We'll continue and wrap things
Coach.
up on this Thursday night. Right after these messages, this is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. You're done. You're good. Yes, sir. Yeah, I'd like to